process. But you know, you have to really understand who your audience is, what the goals of the project are, and the reality is that different messages work for different people. And if anybody thinks that there's one sort of simple answer to these questions, you're wrong. Because you know, people are different. We're all different. You know, whether it has to do with age or gender, or HIV status, or race. You know, we all have different backgrounds, different experiences, and even within our own, you know, smaller groups, we have different ways that we react to social marketing campaigns, prevention campaigns. So, you know, what I've seen over the years is that we kind of need all of it. You know, we need information, we need, you know, positive and uplifting and reaffirming campaigns, but we also need campaigns that are unequivocal about the consequences, the impact, and the negative effects of HIV and of becoming infected. So I do want to say, though, that it's really hard to overestimate what it takes to get people's attention. Sean mentions the campaigns that are running, including the HIV Starts With Me campaign that my company works on. And, you know, we're not here talking about those campaigns. You know, those campaigns aren't getting any ink because everybody wants to talk about this campaign. So I'm not saying that, you know, you do this stuff just to be controversial or just to only to get people's attention. But I am saying that if you don't get people's attention, you might as well close up shop. You know, there's no point to doing it. And the fact is that it's harder and harder to get gay men to really engage around HIV prevention. So I don't have any solutions or answers. I don't think there are any particularly, but I have some questions. You know, can you stigmatize the disease? Can you say the disease is bad without stigmatizing people who have it? You know, some people don't think that's possible. You know, and I think as a community, we have to also ask ourselves, you know, do we really want to prevent HIV through behavior change? And my sense is that most of the sort of activists are, you know, basically interested in pills. You know, where's the PrEP and the PEP and, you know, whatever else, and not too very interested in behavior change that involves condoms or other ways of changing our sexual lives. So I think that we really have some tough questions. I mean, HIV, you know, it's great that you all are here tonight, but it's getting further and further in the back burner, and we've got to figure out ways to get people to be interested and care and want to address it. I think that I'll close with this, but you know, it's not so much, you know, what our effective message is, as it is, you know, what's the sort of payoff? You know, I mean, what's the benefit to not becoming HIV positive? Right? What's the value of staying negative? And I don't think we make a very good case of that. I mean, nobody wants to really talk about that. I think it's a real problem for our community. I mean, if we can't make the case that it's better to protect yourself and not get HIV than it is to get HIV, then, you know, there's no point to doing prevention. I'll end with that.
Now again for Daniel. Daniel, can you just define PrEP and PEP for people who might not know what PrEP and PEP are?
Sure. So PrEP, or pre-exposure prophylaxis, is the idea that antiretroviral drugs may prevent infection in the case that somebody is going to be exposed, so it's a preventative measure. And PEP, or post-exposure prophylaxis, the tenet is that if you have been exposed to HIV, quick access to treatment, maybe for, I believe, a month or so, may prevent establishing itself within your
I
body.
think it's within 72 hours.
So, right, within 72 hours, and I think it's about for about 4 weeks of continued treatment. And it was originally piloted with healthcare workers who were exposed to HIV through needle sticks or blood splashes. And then we had the idea, wait, we could use this if somebody is exposed sexually.
Thank you.
Sure. So I want to be brief so we have time for discussion and questions. But I just wanted to touch on a few things. The first, HIV prevention messages in general. So I think most people in this room would probably agree that we can attribute HIV disparities, or one way of framing it would be there's three levels. The first would be individual characteristics, the second would be community and social characteristics, and the third would be institutional and structural characteristics, right? People do not exist within a vacuum, we exist within a world, we exist within relationships, we have sex within these domains. And I think it's important to question where any HIV prevention campaign is nested within that, right? So are we just focusing on one specific area? And I realize, ads can't affect individual change and structural change at the same time, or at least they shouldn't, they're sort of got to stay focused. But where does it fit within that perspective, right? We know that's how we can explain HIV disparities, so that's how we should be intervening. For example, a lot of people in regard to fear-based messages tap into what we know about tobacco campaigns or cigarette smoking or similar risk behaviors, and they say, well, fear is a great way to affect change or get attention. But what's missing from that is that those campaigns, when they are effective, are nested within social and cultural shifts around smoking, and also institutional and structural shifts, right? So not only do we say, don't smoke because here's what your lungs will look like, but we say, here are some social and contextual factors. Maybe it occurs around the time that, smoking is banned in bars or clubs. So again, we see a sort of shift in social attitudes about smoking, but we also pair it with nicotine replacement therapy. So we say, call 311, we can offer you subsidized or free gum, lozenges, patches, whatever, because we understand that behavior change isn't going to be spurred just by that one message. We've got to hit it from all sides. I think that's an important thing to keep in mind when we talk about fear-based messages. It's a great way to get people's attention quickly, but as we know, people have very short attention spans, and you've got a very short window within which you can act. And drawing on that, that data that is available shows that fear-based campaigns are or can be effective when they're paired with skills and skills building and self-advocacy, right? So you just don't scare people, you've also got to tell them how to make a healthy choice or to reduce their harm. So I brought, in the interest of not favoring any of the campaigns that have been done here in New York recently, I brought a few booklets that students have brought back from a class that we teach in London. And these are booklets, granted they're not ads, they're booklets, but they're put out by a group of their gay charities or gay AIDS service organizations and health organizations paired with the National Health Service. So there's a couple different ones, and I'll leave them up here, you can come and look at them after the panel, but there's a whole book about semen, sex, and HIV. There's another book, How Can You Tell? A Guide for HIV Negative Men. This one's a great example. They have an accompanying booklet that is a guide for positive men. So not only does it draw awareness, but if you flip through it, there's sort of role plays. What happens if he says he's negative? What if he hasn't been tested? What do I say if he tells me he's positive? And they walk through the idea that, again, people are having sex within relations and relationships and within contexts. Again, the skills are really important for navigating those domains. And then I'd just like to end with one or two quick questions as we think about campaigns. The first, if we scare people about HIV, what does that mean for Knowing is Beautiful campaigns, which there's definitely a lot of people drawing on that, or campaigns to get testing. And the second is, what if we had ads, and maybe this draws on what you were saying, what if we had ads that tapped into resilience or self-esteem or skills and applauded people for making healthy choices and showed people the benefits of protecting themselves versus showing them the costs of not protecting themselves? Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I can see that we have sort of circled the wagons come around, and I'm the last person to speak, and I think that is for a reason. I also want to thank Sean and GMHC for having all of us here. I think this is an extremely important conversation and topic for us to have, and I would like to point out that, as others have pointed out on the panel, one of the key reasons that we're having this discussion at all really stems from the impact, however you may define it, that this campaign has had. I also want to acknowledge the diversity of opinion on this panel. I think that it's been very interesting for me to hear how at least 3 people on the panel have described the fact that either what they're calling fear-based messaging and what we might consider to be what is sometimes called loss frame messaging can have an impact if the tools are provided to do something about avoiding something that you don't want to have happen to you. At the Department of Health, we have had funded many different types of campaigns. We fund some of the campaigns from people who are here at this table. We work with practically all of you. We have funded work from GMAD, Harlem United, and we have actually worked with Les. When I first arrived, the New York State and New York City worked together to fund the HIV Stops With Me campaign. So we believe that there are many different approaches and many different ways to come at, as Les said, you have to come at this from many different angles. And we've been doing that. We also produced a variety of testimonials that some of you may have seen, but I would really like to see a show of hands of people. We saw earlier in the evening a show of hands of people that had seen the It's Never Just HIV campaign. How many people, and I'd like you to be honest if you can, in this room, have shared the video, sent it to someone and said, take a look at this video, the clip of It's Never Just HIV? Can I just see a show of hands of people who have done that? So at least approximately half the people in this room have shared that video with somebody else. And so, as I think Les said, you know, a campaign has to be seen first or viewed to become effective, to be effective, or to have an impact. So that's very, very important. We also know that all of these campaigns that have been done throughout New York City, many of which have been a more positive framed or a gain framed message, as you might say, have been going on for many, many years, and yet the number of new diagnoses among young men who have sex with men, or gay men, continues to increase and has increased by more than 50% since 2002. So we knew that we also, through our focus group work, where young men said to us, we don't see anything that makes us stop, take note, that's counter to this, what some pharmaceutical companies show, which is, you know, as Tokes has said, take a pill a day and it's okay. You need to be direct, you need to be hard-hitting, you need to show us this. And so this is the approach that we have taken in addition to the other approaches that we also take. So I think I will stop there, but I just do want to emphasize that this conversation that we're having tonight, we think that jump-starting this conversation has been one of the most valuable and important pieces that has been a consequence of this campaign as well.
Thank you all very much.